Hi. Today we're going to be looking at my round 4 game that I played in the Denker tournament of high school national champions. So in the first 3 rounds, if you saw my last video, I have 2 out of 3, so that means I'm going to be playing a pretty high seed and I get a 22-84 with the black pieces. So going to this game, a draw would be a good result, but if I can try to play for a win, then I might. So maybe some foreshadowing. Anyways, we get e4, c5, and we get this thing, and he takes with the queen. Now, I've only had one other game where my opponent took with the queen. That was actually round 7 of the National Open, which you can find in my prior videos. And in that game, I played this bad line where after takes and takes, I played queen d4 because I play this a lot in blitz, and what happens is you get this really bad endgame with black where you can't really play for any sort of advantage and you always just have this bad pawn structure. I won that game because of luck, and that's also how I won all the blitz games that I played using this line. Instead, what I should do, and I made the improvement in this game, is bishop d7, because if he takes and the queen takes, this is fine for black. Much better pawn structure, and although white has the 2 bishops, black has like good control of the center. So my opponent attacks my queen, I go back to c8, castle, castle, and now I play a6, and I try to expand on this queen side here. So my opponent plays queen to b3, sidestepping this threat. I play it anyways, which is a slight mistake, but it's probably fine. The computer like gives it a this thing, but it's probably an okay move. So my opponent plays a4, and now I see like 2 options basically. I can play b4 to take the knight right away, or I can like tickle the queen kind of. And if I do this, then if the queen goes to a3, I just go to c4. That's good. If it goes to a2, then I can play b4, and it's like better. If it goes to yeah. So the only other square is b4, and I can go back. So if he goes back, I'll go back. Draw is like fine. You can't go here because of a fork. If he goes here, then I can move the knight back and continue to kick the queen. And I basically was trying to convince myself that the queen really did have nowhere good to go to. But like I just didn't want to play like this because you're kind of playing like a scared person. So I didn't really like that. So I played b4 instead, and he went to d5. So I go rook b8, and now my opponent has a couple options. You can play a5 to like do stuff on the queen side. I can't take obviously because of the fork. And after the game, my opponent said he considered this. You can also play queen to c4, making this threat on the knight and also the pawn. This would be kind of strong, maybe. I'd have to probably take, and then the rook takes, and there's really good pressure with the 2 bishops on the queen side. So I'm attacking this pawn, but like that's not really important. So my opponent plays bishop to f4 instead with the idea of eating the rook. So that was literally the idea, just to eat the rook. Now it looks pretty strong because I can't play e5 because of the takes and the fork. So then I have to cover e7. I cannot go to b7 because that drops this skewer. I cannot go back because of the knight b6. So it looks like I'm losing the rook, and I am, but I can lose it in the best way possible, which is to take. Okay, so now if you're white, you can take back the knight, or you can take the rook. If you take the rook, you win the exchange, which is what he did in the game. But if you take back with the queen, then you can actually apply a lot more pressure because you're still attacking the rook. That's like a tempo. So I can go like e5. And then like moves like knight to d4, I guess. Maybe this is what my opponent didn't like, but you don't actually have to take it. You can go like bishop c4, because if I take, then you have bishop c5, and this is really strong. So now, like this white gets to keep the 2 bishops basically. But in the game my opponent took, and this is really good because now I can play e6, and I have really good control on these light squares, and have really good control of the center. This bishop's really powerful, and I'm just really solid basically. And I'm also threatening this really nasty knight to d4. So if he goes back to g3, so my opponent goes back to g3, and now I go back to d4. And I'm attacking the queen, and I'm attacking the bishop, so if he goes queen to c4, which was his plan, I'm just gonna take and just take. And this is actually just better for black, because I have a pawn for the exchange, and also really good targets. This knight is like uneatable now, if he doesn't want to sack. And what this means is white has to give back the exchange, which is kind of an oof, but luckily white still has the 2 bishops. However, I have this knight in the center, so it's really strong. So at this point, black's doing pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with my position. So he goes rook d1, I drop the bishop back, and here he starts playing without a plan because he has no plan. So he goes A3, H3. Couldn't really tell you what his plan is. It's not stopping anything from landing here. I mean, it's a useful move just to like, just a waiting move. Yeah, nothing like wrong with it, but it just shows that he doesn't have a plan. Which is like sometimes okay when you have two bishops, but okay, I play a5, solidify the queen side. He goes bishop e5, which I think is kind of a suspicious move because it allows me to attack f2. He goes here, now I go drop back, threaten to trade bishops. And if I can trade bishops, then with my dark squared pawns on the queen side, I can like target c2. So he goes bishop f3, now I take, and I try to make a draw by just trading everything in the center, and that's what happens in the game. We get a lot of trades. But instead of that, what I could have done is played for more with knight to b6. So this covers c4, it covers like all the key squares. Knight is really good here, complementing with these pawns, because it's hitting a4. Now I can target like this. The knight's a lot better than the bishop because these are kind of like a cactus that like spikes against the bishop. So he has no dark squared bishop to take advantage of this Swiss cheese. So I just have two targets here basically. And yeah, it's probably not it's like marginally better for black, but I always have targets and he doesn't have targets. That's the thing basically. When I go here, we just trade a bunch of pieces, and now I have to like do some calculations because I thought that I could take. He takes, I check, and I just take this pawn. But he has this check, and he like forces my king out of its little comfort zone here, and I had to be like absolutely certain that it did work, that I'm not getting checkmated, because if I am getting checkmated, I lose. But if I don't get checkmated, at least I get a draw. So I do end up taking because if he takes, then here, and I just saw that, okay, he checks, now what? So if he checks here, I cannot go here, I think, because he keeps checking like this. Yeah, I didn't want to go like that, but I can always go to g5 because whenever the rook checks here, I block with f5. So that's a position really similar to what happened, which is that he checked, so I can only go here because I need to block with this f5. If he checks me here, then I just go to h6, and we like go back and forth. So he checks me, I go here, check, and now, at this point, he has no more checks, except for like a sack or some sort. So if he can't check me, he has to stop a couple threats. He has to stop this threat, and he has to stop this threat. So if he goes to like g3 to stop this check, then I check him here, I check him here, and then I saw that I could play f4 with like yucky tactics. So if he takes with the queen, I take the rook. If he takes with the king, I believe I just check him. If he goes here, then I take and I have this nice skewer. If he goes here, I keep checking him and I eat the rook. If he goes here, then I check him here and I eat the rook also. Okay, so he can't go to d6. If he goes to b4, then he actually covers both because he's not only guarding f4 but also c3. So this would like make a draw, but well, there was like no reason to do this because first of all, you have to find the only move, which is queen to g4 check, which is just suspicious, and then you can like trade queens, and this is obviously a draw. I didn't see queen g4. I thought queen b4 would lose the game, but okay. Luckily, he has this sack on f5. And the idea is he can't check me with g4, but after I take with the queen, now he can. And now white wins the queen. So I have to take with the pawn, and then we just get a perpetual. He offers a draw, and I accept. So if I go here, he goes back. If I go here, he goes here, and I go back. And if I go here and I try to run over here, he actually just skewers the rook, and now white's like up a pawn. So I got the draw, which is a pretty good result. I think I'm getting some rating at this point. But I have 2.5 out of 4. So that puts me at a pretty good spot in the standings. So if I win the next game, then I guarantee a plus score, which is really good. I don't think it's ever been achieved in Idaho history. And obviously I knew what happened. I know what happens at this point. But just for suspense, in the next video we will find out whether I can achieve the first plus score in Idaho history at the Denker tournament. So thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one, which should be coming out tomorrow.